There's something about the water that'll give you peace, all by yourself or with your family. Live salt strong and weather line today.
In this video, we're going to talk about how to go out and catch a slam right after a cold front. You know, this is the winter time. Right after cold fronts are periods when I used to just hate fishing. I thought the fish just weren't biting, so I literally would not even go. And now, you know, if you have the right game plan, it can actually be a lot of fun. And now it's actually some of my favorite times to fish because, you know, yes, the fish are tougher to find, but they are absolutely eating. And then once you do find them, you can go out and catch a lot of fish and have a lot of fun. And so this trip in particular that I'll show you as an example, or as a case study, I should say, is I was fishing with one of our members, Dave Otte, who was nice enough to come down from Pensacola to our meetup. We had a Salt Strong meetup in Ruskin, Florida. So he came down there and I went and fished the day before the meetup, and he's never caught a snook before, right? He's from Pensacola. They don't have snook up there. And so obviously we really wanted to catch a snook, but also we really wanted to go out and just catch a slam, right? So snook, redfish, sea trout, those were the three species that we're targeting. And right after cold fronts is technically the most difficult time to catch snook because they are very sensitive to cold snaps. So at the end, I'll show you the lures that we use. They're very basic, but more importantly, it's about the type of spot that you're fishing. And so we'll cover that. I'll basically walk you through the trip and show you what happened throughout our morning out there on the water. All right, so here's the first stop that we made. And first of all, we had a gentleman start, and we left at about 9 o'clock in the morning. We wanted that sun to be up and start heating up the water to turn on the bite. And neither of us had fished this area before, so we were just going to like textbook type spots and just covering the areas with good lures. And paddle tails in this case is what we're using. So what we were doing is I just went to this big oyster bar. So this is an oyster bar that I saw on the online maps, and knowing that there was a lot of water movement nearby, it's almost going to have some fish. There was the first trout I got, and then here's Dave with a trout just right afterwards. I just released mine, and Dave caught a solid trout as well. So now we both have trout on board, plus we caught a ton of ladyfish. That was a giant one. That was it was a 24-inch ladyfish. It was a beast. So anyhow, we got the trout off the board. Perfect. Now it's time to go look for redfish and snook, and they will typically be in canals. You know, after cold fronts, canals are a really good type of spot to fish because it's just deeper water, right? That the shallows on the grass flats just get zapped with the cold. So a lot of these snook and redfish that are up on the flats will be pushed off into the canals after these cold fronts, and they'll sit there and wait until it gets warm again. And so that's exactly where we went. And so you can see there's just casting a lure and just kind of slow bouncing along the bottom. And here's where this is where a redfish. So solid redfish. Dave got the net out. So now we at least have two of the three species that we want to target. So what do we do? We kept fishing canals. And in this case, I switched over to a gulp shrimp so that it would just dive down a little bit quicker. And I was you can see that cast got right next to that piling, doing the double twitch retrieve. And there is the first snook of the day, and really just follow that recipe. Again, this is nothing fancy. We had never been in these spots. Granted, this is a small snook, not a giant, but still just nice to be able to go out and successfully find the right species just with utilizing, you know, some the recent trends that have been happening, as well as the weather. Right, the weather is like a big factor that I overlooked for many years. So here's another snook about to hit. I was getting right up along the deep side of the dock, right? Those snook were trying to get warmth. And so they're generally going to hold toward the deeper sides, get the lure in their face, and have a nice retrieve in the right type of area, right? And that'll be a recipe for some fun fish catching action.
All right, they're here.
So we kept fishing canals, and Dave hooked his first snook. Everything was perfect except for the actual camera lens being covered. So I missed the footage, but here's Dave landing his first snook ever.
There you go. All right, first snook there. First snook, well done, Dave.
First one ever. First time I ever touched one. Well, I've got to have us a redfish and we'll have us a slam.
Yep.
There you go.
Nice.
Ah, thank you,
Nice
brother.
work. Nice
Thanks for
work.
putting me on.
That was awesome.
And as the day progressed, right, the water's getting warmer and warmer, and even though we were still in a cold pattern, right, a cold trend pattern, the fish still moved up a little bit shallower, and so we followed them and just kept making casts, and we had some good opportunities. And here, Dave just hooked up, got into a fish. And we're quite sure. We couldn't tell exactly what it was when it hit, but this was redfish territory. This was the exact type of spot that I've been seeing a lot of reds. And so I thought it was a red, so I just stopped fishing. Wanted to make sure that we officially got our double slam, and here's where we finally identified the fish.
Redfish.
Hey,
got the slam.
Got the slam. How about that? Look at that. It just keeps getting better. Look.
Sweet.
Right.
Official.
So as far as the lures we were using, they were jigs, right? So basically just a basic jig head. In this case, it was a 3/16 ounce jig head is what we used for most of the time. That's a great size for targeting anywhere from the 2 feet of water to about 5 feet deep. And as far as the tails we use, the Slam Shady. This is one of our baits that we came out with, one of our custom colors, and this worked really well. Also, we use gulp shrimp, so a 3-inch gulp shrimp and 3-inch Slam Shady. The reason why the Slam Shady great is because it enables the water coverage, right? You can cover a lot of water with these paddle tail lures. The shrimp had the advantage when we were fishing really tight to the docks and we wanted to get down deep faster because this paddle tail is drag on the water. So that is going to just slow down the actual decline and the descent of the bait. So the gulp shrimp did best when we were targeting those snook on the pilings, on those dock pilings. And this paddle tail did best when we were out catching those trout, when we were fishing the oyster bars. We were just covering a lot of water. We weren't necessarily just slow bouncing on the bottom. We were moving fast, looking for those fish that were scattered in the more open water. Just like always, the most important thing by far is your spot selection, is choosing the right spot based on the conditions. That's what I did wrong for many years. I was going out buying all sorts of fancy lures, no telling how many hundreds, probably thousands of dollars I spent on lures. And the reality was that I didn't need to be going by those lures. I just needed to focus on putting myself at the right spot at the right time. So if you're in that same boat, please be sure to give our Insider Fishing Club a shot, because we give weekend game plans every single week. We share exactly what types of spots to go to based on the weather, based on the upcoming weather. We obviously look at the weather forecast as well as the tides, as well as the recent trends, and give you exactly what you need to know in 10 minutes or less so that you can just go out and have tight lines every trip and just know that you're going to be focusing your time on the right spots, right, in the feeding zones, and minimize your time in those dead zones. So I'll put a link down below for more information on that. Basically, if you live anywhere from Texas all the way up to Virginia, and you like targeting redfish, sea trout, snook, flounder, this is definitely the place for you. And best of all, we totally guarantee it. 365-day, 100% satisfaction guarantee. So link down below for more details. Thank you so much for your time in watching this video. Leave a question down below if you have any. Otherwise, hope to see you again soon.
There's something about the water that'll give you peace, all by yourself or with your family. Live salt strong and wear the line today.